Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, I just want to talk about how Web3 is kind of redefining the internet. First of all, I want to define what is Web3, and then I want to look at some of the incentives around how Web3 shifts what people are incentivized to do. So the actions that Web3 will encourage people to take when using some of the technologies. And then finally, just kind of looking back at how the internet has evolved from Web 1.0. So, kind of the original internet that most end users would be familiar with, Web 2.0, and then finally Web 3.0 and where things are headed over the next few years. So I guess first of all, let's hop in and look at what Web 1.0 and 2.0 are, and then we can kind of use that understanding to take a closer look at what Web 3 is and how that's shifting the internet. So Web 1.0 is essentially the internet from about 1991-ish till about 2004. And during this time period, the internet was made up of basically just a ton of static pages. So not even really websites in kind of the modern definition of websites, but mostly just informational pages. Think of it as just a ton of Wikipedia pages. And in this phase of the internet was basically read only. It wasn't interactive, and if it was interactive, it was very minimal. You weren't able to really input information into the sites you visited as an end user. You could just kind of consume the information that was presented on the website. So during Web 1.0, users were consumers. They were consuming the information on the site, the media, the limited media, because there wasn't going to be videos and kind of animations and all that stuff, especially early on, just because they were so difficult to kind of upload, and then actually, having users download something so resource heavy was difficult because internet connections were so slow. And then the incentive for Web 1.0 was essentially to just figure out how to, one, create the best website, and two, find the most interesting information and share it to get users coming back to your site. In this phase, maybe towards the end of Web 1.0, you could make some money with display ads. There wasn't a ton of business on the internet just because people didn't really know how to do it. There obviously were some examples of people using the internet to make tons of money in this phase. This is kind of associated with the .com boom. So yeah, it was just a bunch of people and companies kind of uploading the most interesting information, whether that was the daily news, whether it was a resource about a certain topic, or things like blogs. Those were pretty common in Web 1.0. And then if we move over to look at Web 2.0, that's essentially the internet from about 2004 until where we're at now. So that internet is highly interactive. You'll see that on many of the websites you visit, you can input information, or the internet or the websites are collecting that information themselves. And this allows more personalization in end users' experiences on the web. So, say I'm logging into Facebook and scrolling through my news feed, because of all the information that basically I've input into Facebook, whether it's me actually doing it or Facebook collecting that on other sites, and then let's say you log into Facebook, our experiences are going to be very different. Facebook has the ability to serve personalized content, and other sites do the exact same thing, where you input certain information or they collect certain information, and as a result they serve you different information. Their pages are dynamic, their pages are interactive, and kind of the big theme from 2004 to now is the internet is like powered by targeted ads. So whether that's ads that are specifically served to you in a feed like on Facebook, whether those are targeted just based on the website you visit. So let's say you go to a camping site, you might be more interested in camping, so a tent company would place an ad there. That's still a way to target users. And kind of a result of that reliance and use of ads is a lack of privacy, because one, the advertising platforms are incentivized to be able to target users better so that they can charge the purchaser of those ads more money. It's also kind of forcing companies into developing new technologies to collect information. I guess just looking at the incentives of Web 2.0, companies and websites and I guess platforms are incentivized to create the most attractive platform. So not just an attractive bit of information to serve on a web page, but like an entire platform that allows them to serve you information and you to upload and give them information back. The reason platforms are so powerful is because the more people you have uploading onto the site, basically the more attractive and interesting the site will be to the end users that then you can serve ads to. So that's why during the kind of Web 2.0 phase, we saw companies like Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these massive companies that are absolutely crushing it because they've created these platforms that allow users to upload super captivating content. So, think things like YouTube. Those are very Web 2.0 companies or tools, I guess. And then moving on to Web 3.0, that's basically the internet from about right now into the future. Obviously, Web 2.0 technology still exists. People still use it. But Web 3.0 is kind of the prevailing new technology that people are growing more interested in and looking for new ways to use. And the big trend for Web 3.0 is relying on things like blockchain to create a more decentralized internet. And basically just what decentralized means is that rather than having a company like Facebook own and control this platform, it's like using every end user or at least empowering every end user to own their own content, to not have to rely on something like Facebook or Google to host that or decide that it's okay to have it on their platform. It's simply spread, like the ability to influence and censor information and all that stuff is divided across all of the internet. So now this gives users basically the ability to own and control their content. With Web 2.0, if I upload a video to Facebook, other users can go on there, save my content, download it, and then claim it as their own, basically. But with tools like the blockchain or like NFTs, for example, there's some sort of verification that whoever is posting something owns it, and then allows them to benefit from that rather than companies like Facebook monetizing people's content with ads. And in some sense, this is kind of risky because it means the internet is kind of Wild West again, which is something we saw with Web 1.0, where people could kind of do whatever they wanted because there weren't, protections for the type of content people could upload or, hosting companies that controlled what was on someone's website. That kind of created this Wild West vibe. And I think that's kind of where we're at with Web 3.0, where we're kind of taking power away from big companies like Google or Facebook or Amazon or any of these, I think we'll see a trend in the next 5 to 10 years that big companies like that are going to lose influence, because there's going to be this big kind of shift from relying on those large centralized platforms that have more control over the information and content and all that stuff that they share, towards these decentralized things. And kind of how I see that happening is with what's called DAOs. So DAO, that stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Basically, it's just a created set of parameters. Kind of think of it just like a list of rules, or like a autonomous, like it is like decentralized autonomous organization. It's an organization that runs on its own, and it's decentralized. So there's not a CEO, there's not Steve Jobs or Bill Gates running the platforms anymore. It's decentralized. So whoever owns tokens on these platforms, say, can like vote and make decisions. So decisions are made not through one person, but like decentralized. So across the network, everybody contributes. The whole platform benefits from everyone's input. We're not relying on the CEO to make every decision, or managers to drive certain agendas or whatever. It's just everybody on the platform, everybody who has access, is able to vote and kind of control the direction of the organization. So I think overall this is good, because then the platforms are incentivized to actually empower the individuals who are using the platform. So rather than every user being a product, and Facebook selling their data to other companies to advertise, every user will own their own content. Maybe they can get paid in Ethereum for X number of views in exchange for ads shown on there. And they can control that themselves. It's not like they're at the liberty of YouTube saying, well, you can't talk about these topics, and then taking their content down and taking away their ability to make money. So kind of the incentives in Web 3.0 are to decentralize things and just limit the power that individuals, like the CEOs or other super rich people, you can't hijack the platform if there's 1 million users and you have to get votes from every person. So it just helps kind of take away some of the negative, like, human sides of the internet, like greed and emotions and all that stuff. It helps kind of strip that away so that people can't take advantage of the power that they've accumulated. It puts more, or has the opportunity to at least put more restrictions in place and limit kind of centralized monopolies and all that kind of stuff. So super exciting. I think Web 3.0 is obviously like very much in its infancy. I think there'll be major developments over the next 5 to 10 years. I think we've already seen a lot of the applications with things like cryptocurrencies and NFTs. I think people are still trying to figure out like how these things work and what's the best way to move forward with them. So I think the actual applications versus how they've been used so far might shift a ton. People probably won't speculate on cryptocurrencies as much as they are now if things kind of stabilize there. NFTs won't be such a risky kind of Wild West thing if they're used in everyday life to, say, purchase concert tickets, or verify a certain image belongs to you versus someone else. So things have yet to be seen, but I'm super excited for the future, and I think Web 3.0 is going to take us some really cool places. So really looking forward to it, and kind of would love to hear your thoughts about what you think's happening with Web 3, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing, and what things will look like in a few years. So leave a comment if you're interested. I'd love to hear. And check back soon for some more videos. Thanks.